Hi everyone, hope everyone is well. This evening I am playing Tinchebrai. I apologise for my pronunciation. It's one of the battles in the Norman Conquests Men of Iron Tri-Pack. And this is a quite a small battle, so it's not a huge map. The map is completely devoid of any terrain whatsoever. We have the Norman army here with sort of three groupings, we'll call them. The leader is Robert, Duke of Normandy. There he is. And facing him, we have the English Royalist army here with the King Henry, the leader, there. I don't think it'll take too long to play. It looks very straightforward. You can see they're sort of facing off against each other already from the setup, and they are close. So I think the Normans will go first. So I imagine the battle will sort of kick off in earnest almost immediately. One of the interesting things with this scenario, as well as the historical relevance, but from a gameplay point of view, there are potentially some English Royalist reinforcements, and they enter on they're around about here. But you have to roll to see if they enter. So you don't know if they're going to enter or when they're going to enter. So that'd be quite add an interesting element to the game. So I'm looking forward to playing through this. The game is in terms of the flight level. So basically the amount of casualties each side can take. The English Royalists can take a lot more. Well, I say a lot more. They can take, I don't know, 10-15% more than the Normans can. So it slightly favours them. And it does say the English Royalist side is favoured in this battle. So we will see if that works out. One of the other points of interest when we talk about the map being completely devoid of any terrain, the actual scenario just described this, and it does say that they could find very little evidence about or detail about the terrain on this particular battle. Which is quite interesting. So I don't think it's going to take too long. I've got it planned for this evening. So no further ado, we'll start activating the units. Obviously, I should have mentioned at the beginning, I am playing the game solo. I've played all the scenarios solo so far, and they solo very well. And what I'll do is, this is not a game based on turns, so you activate each sort of formation, and each other formation can interrupt those activations, which gives the game a real dynamic feel. It's got a lot of agency to the player turn, and turn's not really even the right term, but so what I'll do is I'll do a bunch of activations per side, and then stop playing, give an account for how the battle is shaping up and anything particular to the game mechanics as well. So no further ado, crack on. Yeah, so the battle is well and truly underway, and it's already proven to be quite vicious straight from the offset. So both lines have hit each other. The Normans going first, they were able to get some very good die rolls for their activations, so they were able to activate numerous times and hit the Royalist army quite effectively and inflict some casualties. And then the English Royalist army had to go back, and they were able to inflict some casualties on the Norman attackers. So it's just quite a maelstrom of combat. So I'll go through each sort of, and you can see it's sort of nicely, nature of this battle is sort of split into three sections really. So this the left section here, it seems fairly evenly matched, to be honest with you. Got some disrupted units. Some of the Norman units have been pushed back here. The centre looks actually slightly more in favour, I think, for the English, with them the Normans suffering some casualties there, and the king obviously just waiting to see what happens here, if he needs to step in and help bolster this area here. But conversely, on the right hand side here, and there's a little bit of glare there from the light, I do apologise for that on the plexi, but on the right hand side, it's actually the way around. The Normans looks to me like the Normans have the advantage. What is interesting with this game, and this is quite a vicious slugfest from the get-go, is that it's the way that the combat works. It's very easy for units to accidentally overextend themselves, and as they push the enemy back, sort of move into those vacated hexes, and that can not always be to the advantage. So that's why I'm playing it at the minute. So, which is quite thematic and narratively quite interesting on the battlefield. So yeah, we'll do some more activations. At the minute, it's even Stevens. Then that actually does give an advantage to the English side, because their flight number is higher, so they can suffer more casualties than the Normans can, and still win the game. So we'll see if that pans out. Now the next activation, put the dice there to remind myself, and it is a D10 based game system. Next activation will be this central grouping here of Normans, to see if they can firm up a little bit and see if they can do any damage on the centre. Yes, definitely shaping up to be a very, very vicious and bloody affair. And most of the action between these two sides, between the middle here and on the right hand side there, both sides inflicting casualties, quite significant casualties to the Normans. Normans got some very unlucky die rolls, and then the English Royalist army got some very good die rolls, and so significant casualties on both sides, but more casualties to the Normans. The Normans are at 15 flight points, so they only need another couple of casualties, for example, and it will be a victory to the English Royalist army. And in fairness, the Normans are looking a bit shaky, especially here in the middle. Got a couple of disordered units here. How the combat works, once a unit's disordered, then melee combat, etc., is more effective against them, and they can then be eliminated, which is for normal shock combat and sort of normal melee combat. So you don't want too many disordered units, and the same here on this side. Actually, there's some disordered units here for the Normans. There is also for the Royalist army as well, because there's disordered units here and there's a disordered unit there. The leader there, unfortunately, his horse unit was eliminated under him, but he survived, so he joined a different unit. Now, if he had not survived and an unlucky dice roll, that could have also swung the game a little bit more in favour of the Normans. So, like all war games, or hex encounter war games, certainly, the good die roll, unlucky dice rolls can have a serious impact. And certainly on this battle, at one point I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be even Stevens, but I can see at the minute the English Royalist army definitely have the upper hand. Now, no reinforcements have entered, so on that side of the board they haven't been able to enter yet. The English haven't been able to get the dice roll that they need for that to happen, and you would not expect that to happen at the beginning of the battle, sort of more midpoint or late point in the battle. So we'll see. But Norman's got to try and hang on. It is in terms of who activation next is actually the Royalist English army. So they may even be able to sew this up, as it were, and finish the battle. We'll see. So I did a few more activations, and in doing so, I think I worked out that I've been adding up the flight points incorrectly. I've been given 3 flight points to a eliminated unit. I think it should have been 2. So I have corrected that error, which basically means the battle can continue for a bit longer, which is great. Now, in terms of what's been happening, on this side, the leader here has unfortunately met a grisly end and has been replaced. So they still have a leader, but it's not as effective as the previous one. The centre here, you can see the Normans have been taking a right battering from the English army, and we've only got a couple of units left. This one I sort of feel it's even Stevens a little bit, and then conversely on the right hand side, the Normans are surrounding the leader there, which is looking very dicey indeed for the English army there. So sort of still even Stevens with correcting the flight points. I sort of can see that actually the battle will continue, which is great. Also, it means that maybe it's a little bit more even Stevens than I had first thought. Actually, interestingly, I think for the most part the rules in this game are very clear. But there is actually, this is probably the one area that I see the most questions asked about, is about the flight point system. I think I get it right. I've played quite a few games now. I'm certainly get it right to the point where I'm content with it. But it's an interesting mechanic, and the way it's worded is quite interesting. I think it does lead to a little bit of confusion or uncertainty. Very easy to get that mechanic not completely right. That's by the by, to be honest with you. I often play games until I'm content the battle is finished. To be honest, I don't always need a point system to tell me that. But certainly, at the minute, it feels even. I think this side clearly, the English have the upper hand. This side, even Stevens, clearly that side, the Normans have the upper hand. So let's see how it pans out. That was quite a tumultuous turn. The reinforcements entered the board, and they are a group of mounted infantry, royalist mounted men-at-arms. They were able to charge into the Norman ranks and inflict quite a few casualties. So they've sort of saved the day almost of this part of the battle here. This part, the English have been able to push the Normans back, and this side, the Normans have been able to push the English back a little bit and inflict some casualties. So in terms of the casualty rate, I think looking at the flight point track, I think it's whomever causes the next 2 casualties or some retired, etc., will win the day. So it could go either way. Both sides got some very good dice rolling when they needed them. And as you can see, it's quite a few areas that have been suffered greatly. So, which is thematically makes for a really engaging game, and very sort of you can play it out in your mind's eye. The maelstrom of melee and mounted men-at-arms coming into the charge, etc., and leaders dying. It's very dramatic, which is what you look for when I'm playing a game like this. So, yes, shaping up really well. I'm really enjoying it. But I think we're coming towards the end, and it could go either way. I feel the English have still got the slight upper hand, if I'm being honest, in this particular telling of the battle. But we'll see. So the game has finished, and yeah, it was a victory to the English Royalist army. Quite a close thing though, right at the end. Not much difference between the flight point. And to be honest, if the flight points had been equal, so if you're playing this and you want a more balanced game, then you could perhaps do that and see if that works. If they'd been equal, I actually think the Normans may have won actually, but it was a close fought battle. That's all that matters. A rich narrative. The leader in the end was captured. Let's say. I mean, technically by the rules, I think you have to be surrounded. A little bit of common sense. There's no friendly units there. He's captured. So, and the English destroyed the centre here. Pretty much took care of the right hand side. It's only the left hand side, really, here where the Normans had got any great foothold. The king at the back doing kingly things, not getting involved, ordering everyone else around, as is sometimes the way of it. But the cavalry coming in as reinforcements definitely helped. Perhaps was the defining moment of the battle from a narrative point of view. So a very rich and interesting game, very thematic. Really enjoyed it. Didn't take long to play, probably an hour and a half from start to end, all up, and a really enjoyable wargaming evening. Very strong, very rich narrative that came out of the play, which is what I look for when I'm playing the solo games. This is a game system I really like. I wish there were more games that use this system, if I'm being honest. It's really enjoyable. It's really easy to get to grips with. And not always getting every single rule right probably, but really enjoyable, and that's all that matters to me. So if you've played this battle, would love to hear how your outcome from the battle you played took part, and any thoughts and comments on the game or the game series in general, as always. And thank you for watching, and take care.